Kuzambula. Thank you everyone for joining this session of Bhutan Dialogues titled Empowering Women Leaders via Entrepreneurship. Before we begin, some house rules. We'd like to request everyone to keep their phones on silent. And at the end of the session, we're going to have a Q&A session. So please keep your questions short and to the point. And online viewers can also drop their questions in the chat box, and our team will assist them. And with that, now, according to the World Bank, globally, 1 in 3 businesses are owned by women. And women-led businesses have grown a staggering 114% in the last 2 decades. However, that doesn't mean there are no challenges. The Global Gender Gap Report 2023 ranks Bhutan 103rd out of 146 countries reviewed. A lot of room for improvement. And according to our own labor force survey report 2022, male labor force participation rate is 73.4%, whereas female labor force participation rate is 53.5%. Now, with that context, we have 2 amazing entrepreneurs with us here today, Stacey Edgar and Kile Palden. Stacey is the Executive Director of International Folk Art Market, the largest juried folk art market in the world. Stacey also founded the Global Girlfriend in 2003 to help women worldwide gain economic security by creating a sustainable market for their products. She has been honored by Microsoft Corporation with the company's Start Something Amazing award. And in 2007, she was featured in the Denver Business Journal as 40 Under 40 Business Leader. Kille is the CEO of Yiga Chocolate, an inspiring entrepreneur with a proven track record. She's also a Loden entrepreneur whose products have captivated both the local market and the international consumers. Now, I remember the first time I saw Yiga Chocolate in a supermarket and being awestruck by the labor of love and the attention to detail that went into her products. Now, in 2020, Kille was awarded the National Women Entrepreneur of the Year Award. So both of them are trailblazers in their own right, and we thank them for being part of the Bhutan Dialogue session. So if you may begin, ladies, we'd like to know more about your journey. So if you could tell us about how you began your entrepreneurial journey. So we'll begin with Stacey, our guest, and then Kille.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This is really exciting to be here, and I've loved learning just how much entrepreneurship is taking hold in Bhutan. I started my journey as a social worker. I actually didn't think of myself as an entrepreneur. I had 2 degrees in social work at the time I started Global Girlfriend, but my mother-in-law had been asked to be on a board of the World Food Program. My father-in-law had worked in government, and when he left office, she had traveled to some places where the food program was giving food assistance, and there was, of course, always women entrepreneurs selling their handmade products. She was bringing me back beautiful scarves, baskets, jewelry, and all I could think as a social worker was, these are amazingly talented women with these beautiful products, and what's their market? That, selling to 8 workers is not necessarily a sustainable market. So I thought, I know a lot of women who would love these products. And that's kind of how Global Girlfriend began. I kind of thought it would be a awareness raising. But what entrepreneurship is, or social entrepreneurship to me, really is an act of advocacy, right? You're pursuing a purpose for community. And so my $2,000 investment in 2003 quickly turned into working with large corporations like Whole Foods Market, Target, West Elm, and going from working with about 7 women craft entrepreneurs and cooperatives to about 250 across over 40 countries. Since leaving Global Girlfriend, there's a good entrepreneurship story there of needing financing and merging with a larger company, and that not going quite as well as I would have liked. I went back and got my PhD actually in the ripple effect of artisan entrepreneurship for women. We know that an individual entrepreneur who starts with her own idea can really make an impact on her community, on her nation, and really on our whole world with that one effort. So I was teaching in Boulder, and now I'm at the International Folk Art Market in Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is the largest juried folk art market in the world. We bring 170 artists from around the world together once a year. We just had our record-breaking market, which we did $3.64 million in handmade craft made by artisans around the world.
Incredible. And how did you begin your entrepreneurial journey?
Good morning. Thank you for having me here, and being part of Bhutan Dialogue, it's in itself is huge for me. And today, it's even more special because of Stacy here, who is a trailblazer in a similar field of what I do. And from what I hear from Stacy, I feel that our journey, there's always, especially maybe because we are women, or maybe it's a universal thing, there's always an element of family thing where we start. Because for me also, I start, how the chocolate thing came about is, I was making some things, pastries and things with my daughter, and I used to teach them how to make very simple things. And one day my daughter said, okay, let's make chocolate. So okay, why not? Then we just bought some confectionery from the market, and we tried making, and it did not come out nice visually, but it's really delicious. And again we Google how to come up with a very fine look. Then that time we found that we cannot put water in chocolate. So that's how we came about actually. And that time it's not only chocolate that I'm interested in. I'm interested in our textile designs and all that. So I do a lot of tinkering. And I used to design clothes for my kids, and also even some accessories. And I even made the earrings that I'm wearing now.
Oh, I love
So I made this actually in 2018.
I see, incredible.
Yeah. So I designed it and made some painters paint it. And one of the ladies, she even made a living out of it. She's making a living out of it. And now my interest in design and chocolate, now it is coming together. So I can really use the design. So, and what Ngawang mentioned earlier, that the packaging. So I do all the concept myself. So I feel that things are coming together. So wherever you are, whatever, as a mother, whatever I did as a mother, and even from my professional life also, everything contributes to what we do now. So in 2017, when I decided to resign and do something for the country, I thought that chocolate is something that I've been doing and is most doable, and I can try it right out of my kitchen. So, and test the market and go slowly at my own comfort. Yeah. So this is how it came about in 2017.
So what I'm hearing from both of you actually is that a lot of the risk-taking behavior, right? From the two of you. But if you look at the global average of venture capital going into women-led businesses, it's a meager 3%, I believe, right? And lower actually in Europe and North America. So the general consensus among, I think, the venture capitalists or investors in general is women-led businesses are risky, right? Your thoughts on that? We can begin with Amkinde. What about?
I think maybe that's a perception also. Women-led businesses are risky. Actually, we are risk-averse as well as we take a calculated risk. Then I think men. So when we ask for investment, I feel the banks should not be more. Banks should have at least a more level of confidence in our investment, so that we can really pour in our potential and benefit the economy and in the innovation sector.
Stacy, your thoughts on?
And I agree. I mean, in the United States, it's a 2% investment in women-led businesses as far as investment. I think sometimes it's the sectors that we choose, right? Chocolate and craft might not be as, motivating to investors, but honestly, over the long term, they're really great investments. And so I think women's leadership is also very collaborative. Oftentimes we see men really going forward with their idea, and women are trying to bring the community or bring people with, and investors aren't always sure what that might look like or cost them. I think that's one thing that's really exciting about the Loden Foundation, right, is the willingness or the desire to invest in social enterprises as well, and that social bottom line. We need more social impact investment, because that kind of patient capital pays off for not just the businesses but for whole communities.
Yes, a research paper in Druk Journal by Pema Lama on the state of women entrepreneurship in Bhutan gives two insights. First, that a large proportion of women do not engage in economic activity because of duties to family, homemaking duties, and also second, women who do engage in economic activity in Bhutan are largely, in the agriculture sector. So I guess from many perspectives, women's engagement in economic activity, right, are hindered by their responsibilities, as you mentioned. And do you think that plays a big role in in how women lead businesses and also how they look at businesses?
I mean, I think every woman who is balancing family and agriculture and crafting and is the CEO of her family and her life oftentimes, right? So I think what is undervalued is the work that women do that we don't count. When you said, was it 53 or 56%?
50%, yes.
Yeah, of women are participating in the labor force. Yes. That certainly does not mean that there are only 53% of women in Bhutan working, right? Yeah. Every woman is a working woman, and so it's how we value that work and those contributions. I was speaking at the law school yesterday, and a student, talking about craft, said, my mother was a weaver. She spent, her life selling to a middle person, and I want to know if she was paid fairly. She's someone who was her work was likely not counted in that 53%, right? So I think one thing we do need to advocate for is counting all the work that women are doing and all the ways that they're necessity entrepreneurs.
Yes, and Kinley, what about your experience? You just mentioned that you were inspired to start your incredible business because of the experiment you did with your daughter in making chocolates. Like, how has that influenced you? Does the starting line for women entrepreneurs, is it different from the other gender?
I feel that just in line with what I shared earlier, I think what most of our business it comes from where we are. Me as a mother, and Stacy interacting with her in-laws, how the things began. So I think there's always a family element. And for us, especially some of my friends, they're into crocheting, then designing clothes. So it is where you come from. So it's partly our gender thing also. And for me, the chocolate is still ongoing, and similar to that. And I wish I could bring the chocolate making thing to each and every household where the women are housebound because of the duties and all that. So what I try to do is right now, for roasting and things like that is less risky. So I try to outsource to ladies who can do it at home, so they can attend to their family as well as things. And beside that, in just for me, thinking how to make work accessible to people homebound, women, youth, even people who are disabled, and even in the prison, when they come out, they have a community and they have economic power. So in 2018, I started these earrings actually. Earrings and accessories of chokers and all that with Bhutanese design. And I tried to give the idea and all the design to one lady, and she is supposed to actually train more people, go around and train more people, and they can work from home and empower them. So I feel that this is one of my effort how to bring about. And right now I'm on the mainstream chocolate, so the doable thing is I can outsource some of the things, less risky production process to the women and anyone who's willing to do in their own home. But we have to check the facility and all that.
Yes. Actually, when we had our introductory meeting, one thing that really came out during our open discussion was the idea of collaboration versus competition, right? And funnily enough, that very evening on LinkedIn, there was an argument happening between two very successful American entrepreneurs. One was the man was talking about how business is competition and this is a cutthroat world, and I wake up every day to completely destroy my competitor, and the women entrepreneur was on the other hand saying that's not my perspective at all. I wake up every day trying to find how I can collaborate more. Do you think that perspective on life at a personal level has affected how you lead your own respective businesses? And start with Stacey.
I mean, absolutely. I think my whole business, Global Girlfriend, was one big collaboration. I was able to help find a market and to be that marketing arm for women artists around the world. But I could not have done that without our friendship and collaboration in bringing those goods to market. And so I also have helped run a trade association called Trade Plus Impact. And one of the things we've most done is try to create hubs where women can ship their goods together, where buyers can maximize getting their goods imported by working together. Oftentimes those artists are competitors, right? Or you might consider them competitors from the same country, but they're working together because we're always stronger together, right? The idea that I'm going to destroy my competition is part of what's destroying the planet, right? It's collaboration, it's cooperation towards sustainability that I think is going to make a difference. And I do think that's a strength that women entrepreneurs bring and a perspective that we need more of in all business.
So right now, among the food and even other entrepreneurs here, if you have some resources, we try to share.
Yes.
Because some common things like dehydrator, and some pulping machine and all that we share, because we can't afford and it goes back and forth. What machine I have, some of my colleagues don't have, so I go to their facility to process and all that.
Yes.
And I feel that when it comes to collaboration and all that, it is also determined by the market and also our focus. Because right now our market is very small, so we feel that we have to protect what we are, at least for the short term. But if you think of the global market and potential of our product, I think it's good to collaborate, and even if it's within the same product, we can collaborate and market it together. And recently I just had talked with some of our food entrepreneurs that we have to join together, form a group, so that we can have one umbrella brand, and with that we can tap into resources and network that right now as an individual we cannot, because of our strength and also lack of time and all that.
Yes. And just piggybacking on the very important point that Kili just raised about access to an international market, because the domestic market for especially the locally produced goods is so limited. Cici, would you like to maybe share your experience working with artists around the world, bringing their products to the global market, and how perhaps entrepreneurs like Kille and others in the audience here can learn from, and what opportunities exist right now in entering the international market?
Yeah, I mean, I think especially in the craft sector, there's a huge opportunity. The handmade sector has grown to, handmade products are, I think last I read was $5 trillion worth of handmade products sold. And so the opportunity is not small. What is hard is making sure that you can produce goods that are handmade and special and yet consistent for the market and enough. So where I've seen a lot of success is just like we were talking about, when artist entrepreneurs get together in a collaborative or cooperative, and so they can meet that market demand. I think the other thing is really looking for who is looking for your product in the market. There's especially a big desire among fair trade companies for the types of craft that I was importing, but also among larger brands. It's really interesting what's happened over the past few years is larger brands want to work with communities, they want to work sustainably, they want handmade goods, they want unique goods, but they have so many rules and regulations. So finding a partner to help facilitate that is also a really important thing. That's hard for a single entrepreneur who might be making small quantities. So the more you can collaborate and come together, I think that's where you can really find that international market.
Yes. And you're mentioning that finance remains a challenge for all aspiring entrepreneurs. Loden has so far, I think, supported 297 entrepreneurs, 30% of which are women-led businesses, right? We want that number to increase, but when we look at the applications, mostly we get from male-owned businesses. Now, what can we do as an ecosystem, right? Not just as a CSO, as an entrepreneur, but as an ecosystem to improve that. And maybe I will begin with Amkile.
So I think on that, more awareness among ladies, among women, girls, even starting from school, I think. And also to cite example, just a case example, especially in the startup weekend, any business pitching session and all that, when we go for mentoring, if there are potentially women candidates, I think we have to keep on encouraging. I did few, and they are running a very successful business now.
Yes.
So I think we have to keep on doing those who are already in this line of work now. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think it's just grooming and our owning up that now I'm already a chocolate. Everyone knows me as a chocolate lady.
Yes.
Some of the people, they don't even know my name. They just call me Iga. So now, with this comes the responsibility that I have to give back to the society in form of what I can do.
Yes.
So including encouraging, giving advice, and giving interviews, everything within my capability.
Yes. And Stacey,
I agree. I couldn't agree more. In fact, I think education is the foundation of this, right? You might have a great business idea because you're passionate about making chocolate or passionate about an idea that you've come up with, but you might not have all the pieces to fill out the application. You might not understand how to really make those future forecasts or a business plan that's going to interest the Loden Foundation in your business. So I think even running workshops where you're helping people understand the pieces of that application and what they need to do, and taking that out to younger students. There's pitching your idea, but then there's also really understanding those pieces of your business plan, and also learning to be flexible. I think one thing that we all fear is failing, right? But it's so important to hear the stories of people who have had a failure and then gone on and learned from that, just like we were talking about. Everything you do is a building block. So I think having more women exposed to it, it's okay. If you put yourself out there and it doesn't work out, that's okay. You try again.
Yeah, but if I may add on that, I think it's also our concept of what is success.
Yes.
Because we think that as soon as we do, someone has to come and buy. Because when I propose some things, give advice to people, who will buy? They want the buyer before the product is even developed. And that's the thing. So I think people have to be, we have to normalize that failing is okay, trying is okay, and we'll not get there. We will not see the end of the stairs before we even take one step on it. So I think this is one thing. Yeah, one big challenge that we expect to see the end of the road before we even start.
Yes. As an entrepreneur myself, I've always been inspired when I started my journey. I've always been inspired by this one amazing interview that I watched by a professor, entrepreneur who started the lean startup movement, I think. And he mentions that at the beginning of a startup's journey, it is closest to a religious organization, and therefore a founder's job is to convert that faith into facts, right? And I guess startups here in Bhutan are in that journey right now, where we're tinkering with a lot of and we're learning, we're making a lot of failures, but at the same time, I guess the resiliency has to really kick in, and we need to pivot as soon as we realize that we've hit a wall. So on that note, I want to know from both of you, name one failure that you had in your career, right? And how you sort of pivoted from it, how you learned from it, so that the audience can sort of relate with the failures that they may have in their individual businesses as well.
Oh my gosh, so many failures. I'm not sure which one to go with, but early times with Global Girlfriend, again, I started my business wanting to help women entrepreneurs, but not necessarily knowing what the market would be interested in. So I tried a lot of different products. I was not a designer. I ended up learning design because I needed to in order to kind of collaborate. But I had a lot of products. I mean, I might still have some of the early pillows and home goods that I wasn't able to sell in my basement. You could ask my husband about that. So learning what your customer wants, what they need, taking some losses, learning which groups were really going to be able to work with me sustainably over time was one of the hardest things, right? You might want to work with a producer group and it doesn't work out. I hated those failures, right? Because you want to, if you get involved with artists because you want them to succeed, not being able to find the right product market fit was really hard for me. Over time, we really learned what our customer liked though, and then you could really find groups who could deliver on that. But I think it's always a challenge. What you said is so vital. You have to be able to pivot. You have to be able to say, okay, tried this isn't working. What can we do next?
I think this question is a bit too late because I brainwashed myself into thinking that all those failures are actually not failures, that I've gotten something out of it, like I learned the lesson and all that. So, but I feel that the lesson, biggest failure is for me, I cannot particularly point out, but because now I have really brainwashed myself enough. So, but one thing is on the HR part, I could not balance being caring for the staff and also keeping the necessary distance. So it's still a learning journey for me. So that is one thing. And another thing is resource allocation.
Yes.
And when it comes to resource allocation, I'm always torn between long term and short term. And so it's a learning journey. So I cannot really point out what really failure is. So, but in the process, I'm happy that at least I could live through those failures and take the lesson out of it, and still I'm here talking.
Yes. So Ankile, you've been in your entrepreneurial journey for so long. You've launched incredible products. We just tasted one product in the making right before we began this session. It's what does the future hold for your business? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
So I think I'll be known as a chocolate lady only, but beside that, because we have so many byproducts also, some surplus ingredients and all that. So I turn them into artisanal food, sometimes grain mix and the functional foods, even for trail, trail food. Actually, I made few, so maybe I can let you all taste.
We look forward to that.
And overall, I see ourselves globally out there in 1 year. Yeah,
Love
so
that.
we are hoping at least in 1 year we can make it on the international market with our initial products. And maybe that will drag along other products as well. And we want to be like at least in 10 to 15 countries in the next 3 years. Yeah, our chocolate products.
And you're already collaborating with a lot of the local stakeholders here.
Yes.
For example, from one of your ingredients, I think you're using hazelnuts from mountain hazelnuts. So you see a lot of synergy here, but
Yes.
what are some of the bottlenecks do you find in your journey to the international market in 1 year?
Bottleneck, it is like, I think the certification,
Yes.
the requirement from the importing country.
Less.
And right now, like when we can get like organic fair trade certified cocoa beans, but when it comes to our local ingredients, though they are organic by default, and many of our ingredients are collected from the wild, but we don't have certification in many, and they are group certification, but it depends whether the importing country will allow or not. That certification is one thing, and next thing is our packaging.
Yes.
So we have to make it more like heat resistant, more insulated. So we really have to develop that one. And when you talk about packaging, again, it boils down to the finance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with regard to our MOU with Mountain Hazelnut, it is one of our strength, because they advise us on our product development and also helps us with our branding, and beside providing us with Mountain Hazelnut and our shared values that we work on together. And for the international market, I feel that certification is the biggest challenge right now. Yeah.
That's right. So I think when it comes to certification for international markets, there's a national push, right? A lot of the businesses right now who are ready to scale are looking at certification as one of the hurdles, because usually the producers, certification is required at the production end, right?
Yeah.
Where the raw materials are being sourced
Yeah.
from. But right now, because the producers, the supply chain is not aggregated enough, there is no sort of way for the producers themselves to finance the certification, and therefore value-adding enterprises like Yiga Chocolate have to step in and then look at certification. But from your experience, Stacey, working with entrepreneurs from all over the world, artisans from all over the world, can you share if you have any examples of how this particular problem of certification was tackled, how it was financed, and how the entrepreneurs can overcome this?
Yeah, it continues to be a huge challenge and a struggle between buyers and sellers, right? So finding the right partner, the right customer who's going to work with you on that really makes a difference. I think what I've heard from artisan cooperatives around the world is, yes, you want this fair trade certification, you want me to be WFTO certified or some other certification, whether it's organic, in the clothing industry, GOTS organic. But the cost is so high. What is your commitment back to me? If I go through this certification process, how do I know that it will pay off? I think that's one of the biggest challenges, and it's one of the things that we need to work on as businesses, just stating our own terms and conditions, right? We can do this process and therefore need this certain amount of minimum or commitment from the buyer side. And I think, always try and figure out who. Sometimes you need the certification to attract the buyer, and certainly with food products, there are some base minimums, right? There are different US and EU standards if you were going to import food that you have to meet by FDA standards in the US, but above and beyond that, does your customer need or care about organic certification, or does your story, right? The story of gathering some of your ingredients from the wild, being the only carbon neutral country in the world, does that carry enough weight for your product that you might not need a full organic certification in order for your product to reach a good marketing customer. So I think it's twofold. Don't assume that certification is the only way to value your product, and try and find a partner who will share that cost burden. The reporting burden of certification can also be really hard, but it can be worthwhile when your customer, in the end, really does value your value chain, knows where you're getting things along the way. So there's a lot of value in that, but a lot of small entrepreneurs, they know that anyway, right? And they have the advantage of being very, very close to their supply chain. So as you grow, make sure you kind of stay close to that supply chain.
Yes.
And adding on to what Stacey just expressed about the cost of certification, what it doesn't help is actually, especially in Bhutan, because of our terrain and fragmented land, small land holding, so the productivity yield is very small. So it makes it even more expensive than it's already expensive. So that way, I think that we have to really look into the other aspects of our product, like small batch,
Yes.
Farm grown, like all these things that if you can capitalize on these things.
I mean, the challenges that we sort of addressed right now, and I think through the medium of this platform, I hope entrepreneurs can at least take back the need for more collaboration to address these collective pain points. Stacey, coming back to you, like this is your first visit to Bhutan,
Yes.
is it?
Yes, it
this
is.
This is your first visit to Bhutan. First impressions. What I'm sure everyone in the audience is
I'm in love.
curious.
No, I'm so impressed with all the entrepreneurs and students that I've met. I feel like the collective spirit that we're talking about really exists here in Bhutan, and I think as entrepreneurs start to really work together, you're going to see huge leaps and bounds of success because of that collective spirit. I also think you have so many assets that the world doesn't necessarily know about, right? And such a good story to tell. So I would really lean into that small batch that, you have really fantastic agro products. The world is looking to get away from the large scale farming that is feeding the world right now, but also poisoning the world. And so in a place where there's so much abundance in niche specialty food products, I think there's a huge opportunity. And in craft, I think, it's been exciting for me to be in a new country that I've not visited before and see all the talent that's here. And your craftsmanship is everywhere, on every window, on every roof and ceiling and every wall. And don't take it for granted. It's really, you have a really special place, and I'm very honored to be a guest.
Thank you, Stacey. So what I really learned from this session was the need for more collaborations among entrepreneurs, because the pain points that we are facing are collective in nature. And it was very heartwarming to learn about, Kilei's experience, for example, working with so many entrepreneurs, and also your experience of, creating global girlfriends to really empower women entrepreneurs all over the world. And last question before we open the floor for our audience, because we want it to be a more engaging session. One advice for all the entrepreneurs watching, or aspiring entrepreneurs watching this session. And we'll begin with Kilei and then Stacey.
I feel that there is no specific prescription for any work that we do or anyone do. So I would like to I would suggest that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, give your full, give all your put all yourself in it,
Yes.
so that you get something out of it. So it will take you on the next journey, and sometimes in a very different journey. So it will just lead you to the next and next and next. So just giving all your full self in it.
Yes.
So this is my advice, because just now even some of my friends, they can't believe that I'm doing chocolate, because
Yes.
I'm in a totally different field. used to be a geneticist, quantitative
gosh.
geneticist, yeah, but not practicing, just theoretical.
I see.
And also in the biosecurity and food safety. So
Yes.
it's totally different from what I do now.
Yes.
But one thing leads to the another, like being a working mother, trying to entertain your kids, then after that into chocolate, then yeah, it just takes you where you need to be. So
Yes.
just be there, don't rush, you'll reach where you are supposed to be, and you'll become who you are supposed to become. Like, so this is my advice.
I love it. I could not agree more. I think doing something that you find purposeful, right? Whatever it is that you're passionate about, that's driving you, follow that curiosity. Every entrepreneur starts with a, I wonder if, right? So follow your curiosity where it leads. Be more curious than you are fearful, right? We're all fearful. We all are scared of failing, but let your curiosity be the thing that drives you. I find that's how I'm here in Bhutan today, and that's how I've kind of followed my purpose, and it's always been the right move.
Yes.
And now one advice for my fellow entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Advice means just a thing. And from my own experience, like I was very shy to put my product on the market in 2018. So we have it ready, we made, and we just kept on stacking. And my staff, they were frustrated, and I was market shy because.
I see.
And in June or July, my mentor came, and he said, "Why is this such a good chocolate?" He has to take it and share it with the friends and see their feedback. And my mentor, William Takon, he took my chocolates and shared it with Anjua and all the family including, and they were really amazed. So that time, my confidence started growing, and we started putting our chocolate in the first retail outlet of ours, Pachuniting Foods. No?
Yes.
So I feel that as all the entrepreneurs here, for our younger entrepreneurs, we have to actually sometimes force them to put their product on the market and build their confidence that way. So all of us, even now, sometimes we have that moments of hesitation to put the product on. But I always remember my first experience and try to put it out there, and things just go fine. So it's just that ourselves being very critical of what we create and what we put out there. So maybe it's because I was a regulator before, so it is still old habits die hard.
I see. Yes. And with that, I think we can open the floor to questions from the audience. Do you have questions online?
If we don't have any questions from the floor here, we have one online. What role do government policies and initiatives play in supporting women entrepreneurs, and where is there room for improvement?
I mean, I think government policies are so important because so much flows from them, right? Resources flow from government policies, even confidence flows from government policies in the fact that if entrepreneurs know that they're supported or that there is a platform for them to enter markets, it makes a big difference. I would really love to see everywhere around the world more resources pointed towards women entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs from marginalized communities, because once given that opportunity, again, that ripple effect is incredible. The other place where I'm really seeing policy that's really exciting, we were talking about this earlier, is around cultural policy. Mexico just instituted cultural IP that is really aimed at not letting designers from around the world just steal their cultural designs without some sort of licensing or community royalty coming out of that. I'd love to see more countries really, saying this is ours. This is, and I know it's hard. We want to share culture is shared. Nobody can really own it. But I think when governments do kind of protect those cultural resources, it always adds value to those resources, and then value to the entrepreneurs who are using those resources in their businesses.
I think policy-wise, I feel that maybe on the finance, like maybe there should be a bottom line, like especially for small or cottage like class, like the financing should not be less than this or like yeah. So maybe if I propose like about 2 million, at least 70%. Like, so not to slash out the whole thing like on the perception of our capacity. Like, yeah.
Yes. Any questions from the audience?
Or questions about your own business?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe if you don't have any questions about this, then maybe you can share some of your experiences also. Oh, I think we have someone.
I love that.
I'm passionate since I'm very young, and I've been working, like I'm into weaving, and so I started startup studies here 2 months ago, and I'm still like passionate. I'm like working with passion, and I'm afraid to move into business. So I want to still think to myself whether to go into business or work like with passion and work at home. So how do you have any advice?
I don't think that's an either or question, right?
Yeah, it's
So-
more like personal experience.
I feel like, you know, starting in your own home-based business with the thing that you're passionate about, and then testing it in the market, seeing what other people think about it. Your business doesn't have to grow overnight, as we were talking about, right? You can start slow and experiment and see, but also don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to put it out there and share what you're doing.
Yeah, I've been working for a long time, and in the meantime, I've brought up 3 big grown-up boys now. So now I think it's really time for me to do something.
Sweet.
So I have the opportunity, but I'm still like stuck whether to go into business or still work like with passion.
I feel that you don't really have to decide. If you do give your utmost at the moment, no, it will just take a life of its own. Like it will grow and you'll be forced to do. I feel that, like, yeah. And at some point, like, you need a license because if you want to access the resource and all
Yes.
that, like, yeah. So you have to go, and you have to sustain also. So it will just take life of its own.
And sometimes taking that step that you're not sure of is the thing that pushes you over the hill towards your business growing, towards pursuing. Sometimes if you take that one step, everything might change for the better.
Because and also like I feel that still like every time like especially Lodin family, I always go there with my problem is that we are still imperfect. So don't think that you will have that perfect feeling that at any point of time. So even for me, like coming here and talking also, like yeah, I had to call some people here. Then I talk with now, talk with stage, like So it's always a process. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Like, and even in the process, is like I think we have to normalize that discomfort that we feel, and don't be not confident about your product also, because if you put it out there, like if people have something to say, then you correct that. It's correctable. If it's something to explain, just explain. It's part of your story. Even if it's not perfect, it's part of the product's story. So I feel that there's a lot of things that we can think that if we normalize that things are not perfect along the way also. Yeah.
Yes.
It's always growth.
Yes.
I was just going through your website, the International Folk Art Market,
Yes.
and we have a few crafts, artists, designers into textile, which is very unique. And for the benefit of all, if you could share your experience of IFAM, maybe working with, I also see on the list you have actually there are two Bhutanese artisans
Yes.
listed onto the IFAM listing. And maybe Bhutanese context or maybe regionally, maybe Nepalese, I see more of them. So the process to get involved, or how can they as entrepreneurs get involved with IFAM?
Yeah, no, I would love to share that. So IFAM just celebrated its 20th anniversary and started around the same time Global Girlfriend did. Started just a year after I started Global Girlfriend. So I started going to IFAM in 2008 because some of the women that I was working with around the world were applying and getting into this international festival. So would go and work as a volunteer. I also did artist training there. So when the opportunity for the executive director position came up late last year, I couldn't pass up the opportunity to give it a try. It's an amazing organization because it brings together artists from around the world, and one of my favorite parts of the whole thing, yes, we have this amazing 4-day market, 20,000 people, 18 to 20,000 people come from around the US and even some from around the world to shop for those unique, culturally heritage products. But we have 2 days of an artist conference where the artists all get together and learn from each other and learn about the buyers that they're working with in the US and around the world, and so lots of network opportunities. It is hard to get in, I will tell you that. So last year we had 600 applicants and we were able to take 167 artists. You do have to apply, and the application is open right now for 2025. It closes September 10th. So I highly encourage any artists or artisan cooperatives to please apply. You don't have to do the application all at once, right? So you can start it, you can really see what's in it and what you need. My biggest suggestions is don't try and show, oh, I do all these different things, right? Really focus on what you do well. Take really great photographs of those things. Like, we'll get pictures and people will have their beautiful, say, skirt for their kira all folded up so no one can tell what it is or how it's used. Take beautiful photos and then tell your story really well. Why are you passionate about weaving? Why are you passionate about woodwork or crafting of any kind? That is what basically the selection and placement committee we have. Unfortunately, I can be an advocate for you, but I don't get to pick who comes. We have two separate committees. A group of experts and academics actually looks at the cultural heritage, cultural relevance, the social impact of that product or that company. And then the placement committee takes a look at how many weavers do we have? How many carvers do we have? How many ceramicists? What countries are represented? But I will tell you that we would love to have more Bhutanese artists. And when it comes to government policies on our end, we're really working hard with our U.S. embassies to try and get visas. That's one of the biggest challenges for IFAM is, once we've selected an artist, getting them visas. The other thing exciting, though, in my big commercial, is for new artists, we also do a sponsorship, meaning that we pay for the airfare, we pay the hotel, provide meals and transportation, so first-time artists don't have to take that risk, not knowing, right? You never know as an entrepreneur with a new market if it's gonna work for you or not. So last year we sponsored 30 new artists, one of them being Bhutan Craft, who then didn't get their visa and weren't able to come. But Greencraft, Karma Shodin, has been with us for the past 2 years, doing weaving and natural dyeing, and she was a sponsored artist 2 years ago, who then came as a returning artist this year.
Yes.
I would like to.
Of course.
It's so nice to make this. I also actually applied 2-3 times.
Oh, you did? Okay, I know. It is hard, you know.
That's how, like, we are a member of one community brand. It's called Bhutan Dialogues. So
Okay.
I am the member there. So that's where I came to know about IFM. And I applied also. And then I believe that, I applied as a designer. And I'm also an entrepreneur. And I try to promote and preserve the art of weaving in a contemporary way. So I like you said, I express like all of my capacity in one application. Maybe because of that thing, I didn't get a thing. And then second time I applied, and then I think I called also the IFM because I was like, I want to know what is the reason.
What do I
behind
need
it.
to do?
Yes. And they were like, oh, we were confused, like if you are a private or NGO like that. So that was the main thing, and then today I'm still applying. Today I received the message like now it's open, and then September 1st is the last day, and then I'm doing it. Like I hope like I'll get.
Oh, I'm gonna go take a look at your application because I can see them in progress.
It's so privileged to see you here. Yeah. So that's my experience, and there are lots of Indian friends and artists. Like I have. Asif, who
Yes,
is very
yes.
good embroidery. So he told me about IFM, and then I told about IFM to Bhutan Textile. So that's how it came that IFM thing through the community, through word of mouth. And yeah, I think it's so nice to see you, and then I hope I'll get through.
Yes, well, you'll have to show me your products afterwards.
Yes, best product. Yeah, and very authentic design as well as everything is really mark.
Yes,
Okay.
I have
One of my
Maybe
favorite.
Stacy could share us some or highlight on the fair trade products, why that one is really important for women and how it can really bring a social change.
Yeah, I think, fair trade to the consumer is like any certification, right? It's that mark of authenticity. It's the fact that someone has looked at the full supply chain and you can purchase something with confidence that you're really helping the community that you think you're helping or the person you think you're helping. Fair trade in practice is so important, I think, especially for artisans, because it's that partnership, right? So I ran a fair trade business, and one of the most important thing that we did was when we placed an order with one of our partners, we paid 50% up front, right? So we were able to give that investment so that the artisan group didn't have to put their money out ahead, hoping that the customer purchases, right? So some of that is just having, even if you're not working with a fair trade business, ask for people to work with you in a fair trade way, meaning that if you want 100 pieces from me, pay me the deposit so that I have the money to source those materials, and I know that you're in this deal with me, right? I'm not going to lose this business. And then we would pay the other 50% at the time that the product shipped. So our artist partners were always paid 100% at the time they shipped their order. Then we would pay the shipping, pay the US duties coming in, and then have to sell it to the customer or wait on that money. So it's a long cash cycle for the fair trade import business, right? To actually, but it's really the way that we should be working with artist partners, right? The financing needs to come from somewhere, and asking partners to take that kind of risk. And I guess I think I'm very passionate about that as well, because I have seen earlier businesses prior to Global Girlfriend who were working with artists, and there was one in particular that got a lot of startup funding, kind of at the tech bubble, and they weren't paying in that model, and their business went bust, and they owed many artists around the world a lot of money. That's not a position to ever be in, right? Make sure you have a partner who is willing to invest in that export and import partnership as much as you are, because you're investing a lot when you start producing for the export market.
Yes. I think that would be the last question we take. So thank you so much to our incredible panelists and for sharing your incredible journey and also valuable insights. I hope that the audience here can take, and also ones watching from home, can learn more about how entrepreneurship can empower women leaders. And with that, thank you so much to everyone.
Thank you.